Hey, my sugar bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, Nicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's get to the commentary, where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo?
Hey, my sugar bears, welcome back. It is your host, Nicole, and you are at the Bougie AF channel. And so I'm just checking in just to talk about some topics that is right heavily in the news that's heavily been on my heart, things that I really care about. And so since I like to not cause attention, but call attention to things that really affect Black women, things that we go through, because that's what my feminist and womanist heart likes to do. Same word. Anyway, so if this is your first time here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And so y'all, I got a little slideshow up where I've added a few more women to the slideshow. Let me see who we added. So we get to our topics. Oh, okay. Let's see who's coming up. Yeah, and there's actually a few more people that I'm going to add, but I think I may have reached my limits. So I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So let's see. Come on, Lady of Rage. I rock off and rough with my afro puffs. Hey, rock on with your bad self. Yep, I had Beyonce and Jay-Z. Yes. I don't know what you're saying, but he's a man. But I think it's important to show such a powerful, beautiful couple, such a strong Black woman standing next to a strong Black man, right? It can exist. It can coexist. And not to say it's perfect, but it can coexist. And it kind of breaks some of these misogynistic standpoints and sexist rhetoric that you hear in terms of like when men critique women, right? This kind of breaks that mold that this type of man can't be with this type of woman, and it's just super dope that they kind of break that stigmatism. So right, so I think that's why I chose them two together in the picture. Her on her own, because that's a bad bitch on her own. Oops, I done swore before the 2-minute mark. Anyway, her on her own, like Beyonce, Giselle, Noel. What is it? Beyonce, Giselle, Knowles Carter. Like, she's just amazing. I think for the last 10, maybe even 10, 12, 13 years, she's been the star, right? He's really done kind of retired into like being like a businessman, but I felt like her star power has kept them at the top. So I just think that there's just nowhere you don't acknowledge Beyonce for who she is, what she says in her music. It's always spoke for her. She's never been the chatty patty to talk too much. And like I told y'all in previous videos, you're going to get what she want to give you. And that's that, right? She's not up here, playing in our face and pressing record, telling us all her business and then being upset. She's not playing those games. If I did press record, it is a prepared statement and it's what I want to show you down to the T. Okay? And you just gotta love her control over her career. When she got rid of her father, she became her own manager. She didn't let anybody else manage her. Took control of her career. Same way when her husband cheated on her, took control of that and had him running behind her. So just a woman that's always say, I'm not gonna say too much. You can just watch what I do. Who else did I add? Dang, it's gonna take a long time to get through. No, before we do that, let's catch you up on some things in my life. I only want to do this for like the next 5 minutes. I don't want to be talking too much, but listen, I have sat back and watched a lot that's been going on in terms of celebrities, right? And one of the things that I've noticed, I think I have called it out already in terms of celebrities using their children on social media to kind of garner blogs, sharing their posts, like when they do something really egregious, really disgusting, like let's say like a T.I. and Tiny, what they are allegedly accused of, right? You immediately notice they disappear offline, and then within 2 or 3 weeks they ease back in with their children, like with Eris, right? They ease back in with pictures of Eris and what Eris is singing and all this other stuff. And so then the blogs pick that up, and then they start showing it, sharing it, and then you start liking that celebrity stuff again. I think recently I've seen Chris Brown do it. I'm trying to think who else who's been peddling their children out here like that. Most definitely, Portia does it a lot. Let me see. They'll use their children, so you just will ignore. I'm trying to think. there was a guy who was also doing the baby. You see how he hopped back up on the internet with his daughter. Now there's stories about his second career being singing and his daughter. So it's moving your attention. It's a diversion tactic basically. So that way you'll forget about it, and then it's become something that no one's even talking anymore. So right, so you'll see them do this, and it's really like we just seen it with Jim Jones when he just got called out for being a snitch, by people allegedly, but whatever. And then, that awful versus battle that they had. I don't even think I don't think that was a real Jim Jones or any of them, to be completely honest with you. But you see him then come out after versus, and then after being dragged all over Clubhouse, making videos. Let me tell you, making videos outside with no mask on, because that's really important. He came out this week and said that he had COVID. I've been trying to figure out versus battle, which was only like 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. And it's like, when did you have this COVID? Because we've all just seen you outside with no mask on. So we're confused. When did the COVID happen? But anyway, that came out. And I guess then I started seeing articles. Pray for Jim Jones for after recovering. Like, and it's like, when was the downtime? When? Before the versus battle, you were all over the internet arguing with I think it was Sheiks or whatever, Peace Out or Styles P. You were all over the internet arguing. So when? Y'all gotta stop letting these niggas fool you, because that's crazy. And then also this week, everybody's tapping into the mental health. That's the issue, and why we're doing what we're doing. And mental health is most definitely important. But when someone and people are learning how to weaponize it and use it in a propagandish type of way, or a weird. It's playing on people's emotions, and that's basically what it is when someone is talking about their mental health, but it's all only in terms of because people are trying to hold them accountable for shit they did, if that makes sense. Like Lil Wayne and his behavior, during the election, right? You understand that black media and black people are not speaking about it anymore, because it's just assumed that he behaved like that because of his mental health. And I call bullshit on that. Not because I'm not saying mental health is not real. That's not what I'm saying. I'm calling bullshit on saying that what he did was because he had mental health, which could be true, but I'm calling bullshit on the people who support him, because at the same time when he was doing it, you should have been speaking up, or you should have not been covering the stories at the same time, highlighting him as somebody being legit. I don't know how to explain that, but it was okay when he was doing it for other celebrities. It was okay when he was doing it. They sat back and let him be quiet. It was okay for blogs because he was salacious, and it gave them, likes. People were tuning in. But at the same time, we all knew then that he had mental health issues. So these same people who are now, I had to let it go, should have been speaking up at the same time, because it does problems to keep your mouth shut, and you let wrong rhetoric be spewed. You let somebody who has an influence other people, right? So yeah, I think I'm just gonna call bullshit on it all. Don't sit up here and say, we all knew he had mental health, but then stood by and said nothing to kind of discredit him and do the right thing. Y'all shouldn't be really kind of paying attention to him right now. He's not well. Y'all didn't want to do that. Y'all didn't want to anger him, and y'all didn't want to lose a relationship with somebody, and y'all just stood back. So I think that's some bullshit. But who else is? Lil Wayne has came out with his story about I guess he said he dealt with some suicidal stuff, or he was really depressed or something like that. Allegedly, he came out and he was just talking about his mental health too. This was in correlation to, I guess, people also when he was, getting support and supporting Trump, right? He wasn't having no mental health issues then, but all of a sudden now that Trump is out of office and you need black people, or maybe you don't, or you just don't want things to be brought up and talked about, you want to come out and talk about your mental health. And it's just it's getting draining at this point. What it's going to do is keep pushing people just to say, okay, we all got some shit. What's next? You still there's still no excuse for that unless you really coming out and just really if you're being transparent. This isn't transparent updates or self-realizations. These aren't that. This is not that at all. This is not that at all. Because even with that being said, Lil Wayne would need to walk back a few things. You know, that whole comments about dark-skinned black women. Is that because of your mental health too? Like, it's just crazy. And then I think even when I was reading the comments, that somebody was just like, this is not even the way he's always told. Like, he keeps on changing his story, basically, is what those comments say. So it's just like, it is what it is. It seems as though somebody is just really paying attention to the emotional, everyone thinks they are a psychiatrist or they know psychology, like playing into that type of emotional vibes, or feeling that people are getting more in touch with, I don't know how to phrase, like getting more in touch with the psychology of it all. Like, people know when you start saying words like trigger, PTSD, that people are more aware of what that is, and as if those are the cover words to say when dealing with things, right? And not really, and you know when somebody's bullshit, and you know that someone doesn't really know what they're talking about, because you really just have to, just like anything, just sit back and just listen to that person, and you'll figure out if somebody is just being manipulative. But I did want to talk because, when it comes to this channel, like, I am really dedicated to talking about women, right? Most definitely black women, because I'm a black woman. So, right, that's what I relate to, and that's what I watch. I watch, everything that I watch is centered around majority of black people a lot of times. So with that being said, of course, when I'm doing this channel, everything's going to be heavily black, black, black. But I want to be clear, right? I am a woman first, and then I'm black. And so with that being said, seeing this week, and I said that this week was a hard week because of the Afghanistan being taken back over by the Taliban. And it was really hard for me because I remember 20 years ago how much, like, the silver lining in 9/11 happening and us having to go into a war and us having, looking for Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, because that's literally why we went there. It was literally us going there because we needed to find Osama bin Laden because he was the head of a terrorist organization. On top of that, that's where he was at. That's where people thought he was at, in the caves of Afghanistan, right? So that's why we went there. It was never to free Afghanistan from their civil war, which is sort of like a religious type of war between two groups between groups in the community, right? And that's different. Like a fundamental war, right? A fundamental meaning, like, you believe this is true to be true. Fundamental is like, okay, it's like our Civil War, right? You had the North and the South, and each of them probably were going to war for different things, right? So those are fundamental differences, right? This is a little different because it's religion, right? And it's the thing that majority of the time you can't change people's mind about their religion. You get what I'm saying? That's something that is ingrained in you, like your DNA. And so that becomes a little deeper, and that becomes a little harder to fight, right? And it becomes something that there's nothing that we can do to convince people who are of strong religious beliefs of what they should do. We don't read from the same book in that way, in the sense we don't subscribe to the same type of message when it comes to religion. So we're not going to have a meeting of the minds, because we just don't look at life the way they do, right? So we didn't get into that war to be able to change their minds, because we know that's not possible. But it was to get Osama bin Laden, and we did accomplish that. The objective for the United States at any time is, like, anytime, if we have a chance to turn a government that would be a friendly government to us, that operates in our democratic type of way, then we're gonna push for that, right? You don't invade Afghanistan and where it's located at, and not try to leave a government that looks more like your government, and try to project your will on the people, and they want to be like the Americans. You know what I mean? That's a win for us. It's a different type. I mean, it's sort of, that's a win for us. And so of course we're going to go in there. We're going to go in there wanting that happen. But when we did invade Afghanistan 20 years ago, I just remember how some major Hollywood women just really was hammering home the opportunity of being able to free the Afghan women. That's like, I just remember that was like the biggest silver lining. Like, if we were going to be able to do anything in this country, it would be able to free the Afghan women, in sense of, I don't know if people know, Taliban, and I think they call it Shia law. It is like, it is barbaric. It is so oppressive for women. I grew up and, quickly understood why they had to wear the burqas, and how important it is to like their survival to wear it. What happened to women who don't wear it, or women who take it off in public and show their skin? I mean, they're covering everything from their body all over to their toes, to the point where they even have what is it, like mesh wiring or something in the eye space, like, so you can't even kind of see their eye color, right? There was this story I remember, and this story goes way back to 20 years ago when I heard it, where there was this young woman, and she was with and also they can't leave the house without male accompaniment, and that's as young as a male being 5 or 6 years old is taught that. Just imagine a 60-year-old boy being programmed to understand his role and his superiority. I'm sorry, I hope I'm saying it. His superiority in the house at 6. He starts to realize what that's about. The control, and just him being a little boy, and how much weight that puts him in front of the women in the house, right? Anyway, so the story is, the woman, she was walking with this young boy, and I think it was her son, and she started having like an asthma attack. She couldn't breathe. You got to understand, they're in the desert and they're under wool sheets. Okay. We just be clear. So she started to like have an asthma attack, couldn't breathe, so she pulled over and tried to get out the way, like on the side, and she lifted up her burqa so she could get some air. Somebody seen her. That woman got hurt because of that, right? So we're talking about that. We're talking about 19-year-olds being married off, right? We're talking about rape was illegal. Oh, I'm sorry, rape was legal then. It wasn't illegal until we invaded the country. So I just want to give a perspective about like how this week was just a lot. And as a woman who likes to talk about things that affect women, I'm going to always stand. And anything against women, and I don't care, white, blue, red, orange, whatever, it's something to talk about. Because, I have another video coming up, but I'm not going to get into it. It was hard this week to see this happening in Afghanistan. And not to mention 4 weeks ago, whenever we whenever we left, I had said it. I don't think we should leave. I don't think we should have left. And I want to say, I still don't think we should have left. And how I feel and think and all that other stuff, I'm a rational person, right? After my emotions settle and I, stop thinking about the women and what they have to go through. And I think more or less, when I hear people complain about being fat, and what a privilege it is, right? To be able to eat food and be fat. When I think about what these women are going through, it's tough. It was tough to sit and listen to people talk about Lizzo. I'll be completely honest with that. It was tough. It was aggravating. It was like for the umpteenth time. I do have a video I'm going to do that I go further into it, but I wanted to make sure I did this video first and then I did the Lizzo video, because I don't get it twisted on this channel. I love and will always support women. I will always stand whenever there's an injustice, anything that comes against women. I'm going to be there to talk up against it, but that doesn't silence or make me not have perspective about things that come up that have to do with us. We be wrong in our shit. And I'm going to be one of those people that's going to always, like, if I can see where we're wrong, call it out. It just is what it is. And I also want to address this thing about my tone. My tone is what the fuck it is. If you don't like it, you shouldn't come over here. And that's even on Clubhouse. I have no respect on women who try to tone police other women who have toned themselves, right? So it's just like, oh, you don't like how I speak? Because tone, like, what are you trying to imply? I don't know you, hon, right? I don't know you to have a problem with you. So you couldn't think that my tone indicates that I have a problem with you, because I don't know you, right? I've not said your name. Nothing is directed to you. So there's just no reason why other women should be trying to police another woman's tone. On top of that, if you do feel like someone's talking to you crazy, you just be like, I don't like the way you're talking to me. And that's just it. You don't hold conversation with that person. But you don't try to police their tone as if though, oh, we're not like that over here, or that you're messing up a vibe. I was in this room. Like, and like I told y'all, I been stopped going on stages. Nobody did not let me up on stages, or no, none of that other weird shit and stuff like that. I had been stopped going up on stages because there's something wrong with, let me repeat it again for the slow in the back. There's something wrong with people who take having a disagreement or looking at things differently personally to the point you think you're beefing with somebody. You are following them around to rooms, you're on back channels talking about somebody who does not know you, does not want to know you, and has not even tried to know you. That's weird ass shit. You have niggas who are doxing people that they don't know because they just don't like them. And that's fine that you just don't like them. But this extra shit, the problem is you and not them. I've found with people, and even on Clubhouse and just going in rooms and sitting there, that sometimes people are even mad when you aren't trying to when you're not trying to be down. That's what it is. People hate when you come around and you okay and you're not trying to be down. And I'm that girl. Like, I'm going to gravitate to who I gravitate. But don't think because I walk in a room that I'm going to, like a little child, act like a follower because I want you to accept me because I want to be friends. Like, that's fucking retarded. But back to the tone policing. Don't tone police me, right? But then I'm sitting in rooms and they let the men come on stage. They are immediately on 10. They are rough talking to the women. They are swearing. They're doing the most. Nobody's trying to tell them calm down. Oh, you're being emotional and all this other stuff. Nobody tells the men that. But for some reason, when it comes to the women, if we have some passion, we have to calm down. If we have some passion, then, oh, you're upset or you're angry about something. So if I'm angry, if I come into a room or if I come into a conversation and I have a lot of passion about, let's say, because this has happened in real life. Let's say it's R. Kelly, right? So I remember one time, this has actually happened to me. What the fuck am I talking about? So I've always been on it when it came to R. Kelly and always knew. And I found that people in my own community, the black community, felt like I was weird for being passionate about what I felt was a known pedophile in our community and how we support him. Now let's be clear, because I understand people in the back. I understand people in the back try to make it seem like, oh, but you shouldn't. It shouldn't affect you. If we're having a conversation about it and I exuberate my passion, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if we're in a car and R. Kelly comes on and I start getting irate and start screaming and shit, you need to call the people with the white fucking truck. There's a complete fucking difference. I told people, and I have to keep telling people, like, I do this for entertainment on a mic or, with people I really dig and groove with and can get with intellectually. We talk about things. That's what it is. Like, and I think some people in this generation, because they don't talk to each other, right? And I've been in clubhouse rooms and we talked about that too. Because this generation has a lack of communication skills, they actually think it's weird to get around and talk about things and be passionate about things. Like, you have interests, right? That is outside of fucking. Outside of fucking, doing a crime, outside of just always talking about the opposite sex, or just being a fucking hater, right? You have interests outside of those things and you like to talk about those things. For me, I'm really into pop culture. I'm really into history. I'm into celebrity stuff, like celebrity gossip and stuff. I'm really into those things. So my conversation, if you talk about like, yeah, I'm really into that. That's my thing. Now, if you start talking about fucking cars and, fishing and you're really passionate about it, I can't meet your passion. That's not my thing, right? So, but I say that to say, because I feel like I advocate for women and stuff like that. Yes, R. Kelly, most definitely. I've had interviews and stuff like that, or I've had conversations. Yes, I'm extremely passionate because you know what? I'm looking at a pedophile. I'm looking and able to tell you things about how somebody moves, and people are sitting back and looking at real raw evidence and being like, oh, I just got to see how that plays out. I just got to see how that works out. And then, Just gotta get benefit of the doubt. I remember one time I was at a radio station and these niggas don't fucking like me and I don't give a fuck, right? This nigga was on the radio, right? Talking about, this is when it first came out, and talking about the R. Kelly thing. And his opinion was, man, I don't think, you know how them young girls are. They be coming around you, 14, 16 years old. They be knowing what's up. It don't be all the men. This is on air. This is on air. And I'm sitting there and I composed myself. I didn't need to go off because that's that man's opinion, right? And then you start to find out other things about people and you're just like, oh. When people defend certain people, understand that there's some commonality. Right? I'm not going to say the young age thing, but other disgusting behavior. There's some commonality there, right? So I have to immediately look at any man that could have seen that videotape of him sexing with that girl, that had questions afterwards on who the fuck we were looking at, because that was a 14-year-old girl. We all knew about Aaliyah. We all knew about it. There's not nobody underneath the sun that did not know about Aaliyah. We all knew. If you're in my age group and older, you knew, right? So to see after Aaliyah that people still needed more evidence, that's not what you needed. You fuck with that type of behavior, and that's just what it is. So, yeah. I pull up, and I don't apologize for my passion. I don't apologize for that. Because I know I can get with the best of them. Going back and forth, but don't tone police me. And that's why I don't go on them stages, because I don't care what fucking green bean you have. Like, oh, you're disrespecting me. What the fuck is you talking about? Because you said something I disagree with and we're having a conversation back and forth. I think people are very loosely using the word disrespect. Disrespect is somebody, calling you a name, disrespect is something clear. It's not just because you can't have authority over somebody just because. That's not what disrespecting somebody is. Because you host a room and you and somebody's talking and they disagree with you, or we're having a popcorn session and I'm like, well, that's not true. That's not disrespectful. You just want an echo chamber for your bullshit. But that doesn't mean that you were disrespected. And a lot of time that's what it is. And when people don't like you, people come in with their shit and they mess up the vibe in the room. You mean people come in with a different opinion and you're bothered by it? So you just want to sit here and be around people who just agree with you. But now what we're going to do, because, I want to sway the people. I want to say that, this person, they causing problems. They causing drama because they disagree with what is being said. And they are pushing back on it. That's just being manipulative. But I think there's just a lot of weird shit. Like, I hate being on there. Like, this guy, he's accused of being like a criminal, but he's a moderator telling good people they should follow. Like, it's just weird. Like, there's a guy who was arrested for like trafficking women and stuff like that, and he's on there telling people how to be a good something. And it's just like, yeah, I don't even pay that shit no mind. Like, I just be looking at the bios and like, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think we just let people come around us and just say the right things and don't give a fuck as long as they're saying the right things. It makes people feel comfortable. We see it all the time on YouTube. We see it with Hassan Campbell. We've seen it with quite a few people. They come around trying to talk that good shit and that savior shit, and we just fall for it. I'm on YouTube. I see what's going on. The gentleman, what's his name? Brother Polite. And everything that is being alleged against him. And it's sort of like, a Brother Polite, Hassan Campbell, they really represent the men in our communities. And that's why I really love Kwame and for what he does and calling these men out and just really speaking to how this shows up in our community. These are the men leading our communities and thinking that they're leaders, right? And that's sad. And it's disgusting. And I was listening, and I forgot who I was listening to. Some people have a way to talk about things and they'll know a lot of factual stuff, but then they'll throw in their own opinions about things. And then for some reason, I think if like the not trained ear will think because they've layered it in the truth that they'll think that whatever they've because whatever they've layered in the truth is layered in truth, that they'll just be like, oh man, you're right. Right. But no, all they did was just, they know what is accepted as a fact, and they know how to put their own shit in there so you can't question the fact, and so that way it makes it seem that extra shit that they're saying is true. All right. So, I mean, I guess the example that I was listening to, there was a gentleman, he was on somebody's show, and he was talking about how he didn't believe that the Atlantic slave trade was as big as it was. And it's just like, then his evidence would be like, oh, the first census of 1790, you see, they list us as black. They don't even list us as African. And I'm laughing because we had already been in slavery for so long by then, right? And so why would they list us as African? I'm sorry, but why would they list us as African? I'm confused by that. And then we had already stopped the slave ships from coming over. So it's just like, why would they list us as African and not black? But the way that he layers that in with trying to say that because that's the fact right there. You see, the fact was that it wasn't late. We weren't called African. We were called black. So that's a fact, right? Because you can pull it up and that's a fact. Now, then he put that on. That's why we were already here. Because if you look at the he cited the Mexicans, the darker Mexican Indian people, and say how this is all of like that. That's how brown and black colored people got here. And so basically it's just the logic and the crazy shit that he said. It was crazy, yo. But he just always knew how to throw out something factual to make his bullshit sound like the truth. And it's just like, ooh, aggravating. Like, because you're like, that's accurate, that ain't accurate. And then one of those people like, yeah, I have the sources and stuff that I can cite. And when it comes to historical information, listen, y'all. When it comes to historical information, if someone thinks they have found some new stuff, they're like archaeologists, there's ways of proving it to be a fact or be a truth, right? So if people aren't doing that work and going through that process of proving something is a fact or a truth, and because we do have an accepted way of doing that, and they're not doing it, and all they're doing is just screaming and trying to get you to believe what they're saying, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'm just being completely honest, because again, you know how you prove something, and you gotta, because you can never say, because my grandmama then told me about this, and think that can be presented as a fact, and it's not. And that's not to say that it's not true, but there's a process of figuring out whether or not what you're saying is a truth. Okay? Listen. So back to the Afghan women. So I did pull up an article because I wanted to be clear. Like, we talk about women, all women, and like, this shit hurts. This is not okay. Same way the Boca Raton and what they did to women in Africa and stuff like that. And we got together and talked about that. All right, so let me pull this up. I'm gonna play a video.
As soon as we leave our compound, it's clear who is now in charge. Taliban fighters have flooded the capital. Smiling and victorious, they took this city of 6 million people in a matter of hours, barely firing a shot.
This is a sight I honestly thought I would never see. Scores of Taliban fighters, and just behind us, the U.S. Embassy compound.
Some carry American weapons. They tell us they're here to maintain law and order. Everything is under control.
All right, I was just gonna let it play, but then I just want to stop in and say that let's please pay attention to the fact that they that was important when they said how many people live in that city and how many people that invaded and they were able to take over the city, right? And it is really important that people always say when it comes to a revolution, and it's a true revolution, it has to be done by the people. And because you can't make people believe what you want, and it is what it is. Even when you think about the United States, it was a revolution done by the colonies, right? There was no outside aid and in that type of way. Nobody came in and tried to tell us that we should be doing this and we should think this way, we should think that way, we should live this way. Nobody came in and told us that. We had a way of living here, and we were fighting for our rights. And so that motivated people for a revolution. They have to have something like that where that they should have been able to keep their own fucking city. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. So hold on one second. Before I get back to that, I gotta pull something up because look, they not playing with this copyright stuff. So let me pull up something to block this. I'm gonna put the feminist women back up, so that should do.
Everything will be fine, the commander says. Nobody should worry.
What's your message to America right now?
America already spent enough time in Afghanistan. They need to leave, he tells us. They already lost lots of lives and lots of money. People come up to them to pose for photographs.
They're just chanting death to America, but they seem friendly at the same time. It's utterly bizarre.
Almost everywhere we go, it seems the Taliban want to talk.
A lot of people are very frightened that you might engage in revenge attacks against security forces.
Alhamdulillah. Since yesterday, we've proved that nothing will happen, and we give assurance to everyone that they will be safe, Mauli Murtaza tells us, and we follow our leaders. Once we make a promise, we stick to it. Maintaining law and order is top of that list of promises. At the presidential palace, the Taliban are now guarding the gate. They say they're here to fill the vacuum left when the government fled. But the welcoming spirit only extends so far, and my presence soon creates tension.
It's because of you.
They've just told me to stand to the side because I'm a woman.
The Taliban have yet to implement their draconian version of Islamic law, but many are already preparing for it.
You can see this beauty salon and many others have actually painted over images on their storefronts of uncovered women.
Taliban commander Asad Masoud Khistani says Islamic rule will be implemented gradually.
How will you protect women? Because many women are afraid they will not be allowed to go to school, they will not be allowed to work.
The female, the woman can continue their lives, and we will not say anything for them. They can go to the school, they can continue their education, but with Islamic hijab.
So like I'm wearing.
Not like you, but covering their faces as well. So
Cover the
hijab.
face?
Yeah.
So you mean
Yeah.
niqab?
Niqab.
Why do they have to cover their face?
Because it is in our Islam.
Is it in Islam, though, that you
Of
have to
course,
wear
of
niqab?
course. Of course, it is in Islam.
Look how uncomfortable they
Most
are.
ordinary Afghans we meet are in a state of shock, struggling to process the last 24 hours. Faizullah tells us his father was in the Afghan army and was killed this summer. Now he doesn't know what to do.
Yesterday I have lost everything. Like I don't feel secure in here.
You're afraid?
Huh?
You're afraid?
Yeah, I'm afraid. Because I lost my dad. I lost my mom in a Logar province like 2 months ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Just I'm with my little sister. We are living at home. That's why I'm afraid from everything. It's the big problem. This is the big problem for us.
It's a feeling shared by so many. Walking along, one has a sense that the real story may be the people who are not on the streets, those too afraid to leave their homes, waiting to see what tomorrow will bring.
Wow. Did y'all see that man talk about his sister? Because even if you think about it, 20 years of a war and that young man doesn't look no more than 24 or 25. He doesn't even know anything about the way life was before. So he's growing up in a way where freedom is normal for his sister and him, right? Like I said, they just had made it illegal to rape women when we invaded. They had just made it illegal. So his sister has experienced freedom. Like, can you imagine somebody coming along and taking that from you, a 14-year-old girl, and you're going to high school, like you're looking forward to the next phase of your life, and then you have to go back to, like she said, this draconian way of looking at women in society? It's disgusting. So this was an article that I had from CNN. It says the Taliban have been in charge of Kabul 48 hours. Women have already disappeared from the streets. They move images of women. No, that's why she was just telling you guys that the models and, like, you know how you have billboards with models and stuff, always covered in tasteful because it is in Islamic culture, but they don't want to see anything. They didn't even want her to, they didn't, you see how uncomfortable those men were with her presence and her speaking? You can tell their bodies were just moving. Like when she spoke and she said, "Is it really?" They would kill a woman from their country who would say something like that. So then there was another article. I just wanted to pull it up. The Taliban knocked on her door 3 times. The 4th time, they killed her. Okay. And so this is an article where they are talking about, also on CNN, and they are talking about this woman who Taliban soldiers came to her home, and there, if they tell you to do something, you have to do it, but they wanted her to cook for them. They wanted a meal. And so because she didn't have money to cook, and she's poor, and so she didn't have money to cook for them, they just beat her up really bad in the bedroom and threw a grenade in there and walked out. It is so freaking crazy. Okay, let me show y'all. I can move this now. Yeah, here's the article. Naja was home with her three young sons and daughter in a small village in northern Afghanistan when Taliban fighters knocked on their door. Naja's daughter, Maniza, 25, knew they were coming. Her mother had told her they had done the same thing the previous 3 days, demanding that she cook food for up to 15 fighters. My mom told them, "I am poor. How can I cook for you?" says Maniza. The Taliban started beating her. My mother collapsed and hit her with their guns. Maniza said she yelled at the fighters to stop. They paused for a moment before throwing a grenade into the next room and fleeing as the flames spread, she said. The mother of 4 died from the beating. And you mean to tell me that we have to read that and then also have to read about some woman complaining about her ass being fat? And you don't understand why people were aggravated, like for the umpteenth time? And I'm not body shaming, because you are listening to somebody who used to be really big. So I'm not body shaming at all. But in the grand scheme of life and what is happening for people and what is not self-inflicted in terms of access to you, that's what I mean. You allow people to have access to you, Lizzo, in a way that is affecting you. Because they're going to call you fat. They're going to call me ugly. Some people may think I'm ugly. It just is what the fuck it is. But you keep on giving these people access to you in that way. In a way that, like I said, that affects you. Y'all, okay, I'm not even going to get into it. But I wanted to be clear. Because there are going to be times where I do say some shit and I have to talk against somebody who I really like. But at the same time, I'm still standing on what I've always said I stand on, which is supporting women and crimes against women. Anything that affects the progress of women. I'm there for that. I'm nobody's puppet in a sense. Wrong is wrong, right is right. We all know that this shit is wrong. So this is easy, right? But I'm not always going to be a critical thinker. I'm always going to a woman or a man, right? Because I want to be taken serious. And I think it's hard for me to take a lot of people serious because I see how they move and how they don't cover certain things and how they're not consistent with how they feel about things, and their ideologies be all over the place, and some shit be cool for some people. Once I see all that shit, then I'm just like, yeah, it is what it is. I can't take you serious. But you know what I am going to do to honor the women of Afghanistan, because there's been some amazing women who came out of Afghanistan even before, who were really telling the stories of like what was going on. And like I said, I remember as a young girl being told that there are women in, what the burqa was and why those women wore and what life was. I remember that. I remember the interviews and the stories of girls who had escaped and how some of them had been maimed and how some of them traumatized. Right? So it did hit home because, like I said, when 9/11 hit and we knew we were going to go to war, history class became talking about what was going on in Afghanistan, what life was in Afghanistan, and what life was for women in Afghanistan. So you were made aware of, what we were doing and why we were doing it and stuff like that. So yeah, I was aware of it. So yeah. All right, y'all. So I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. Don't forget, if this is your first time here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I think I'm gonna add an Afghan woman to my reel, to my slideshow. I'm gonna add an Afghan woman to represent the women, the strong women of Afghanistan that will have to endure this. I just hope, with our time that we spent there, that we've, we've inspired, right? We've inspired the next Harriet Tubman. We've inspired the next Sojourner Truth. We've inspired the next Fannie Lou Hamer. Like, I just hope we've inspired the next, great feminist woman, or the next great warrior, Gloria Richardson's, right? I just hope that we've done that, because God knows they are going to need it more than ever. And so, yeah, they're going to need it. Listen, he would have ate my food, and one things and two things for sure. If I had the money, you would have ate that food. I'm dying today, but you is too, sir. Like, for real, though. Like, for real. So, yeah, I just hope we've inspired some badass women. That, and especially the young girls are going to be really important, because they've been touched by freedom, right? And it is hard to put people back in a cage. It is the hardest thing to do. So they've been touched by freedom. So let's just hope, all the warrior feminist gods come together and, bless them with some magic, because they're going to need it. Y'all, I am out. So, you know how we do here. We keep it bougie. We keep it posh. We keep it black ass up. So, y'all be back, y'all.